Thought this was interesting. Gallup does a poll where they basically measure whether people have a positive or negative view of something. And so the Gallup poll, Gallup's been doing polls forever. For instance, I'll give you a couple of baselines here, and I think it's it's a cautionary tale for sports right now. Gallup polled during the last month and a half, and they said, hey, what's the overall ratio of positivity for farming and agriculture workers during the COVID pandemic? They've gone from 58% positive to 69% positive. Not surprisingly, healthcare employees have gone from a 38% positive to a 51% positive in terms of people's overall thoughts. Sports, they've plummeted. This is pretty wild. Americans who had a positive view of sports dropped from 45% in August of 2019 to 30% last month. All right? The number of people who had a negative view shot up from just 25% last year to 40% in this past month. That's a shift of 30 points from a plus 20 positive rating to a minus 10% negative rating. And it's hard to argue that that's not directly connected to the politicization that we have seen in the world of sports. So for people out there who are like, oh, it's important to share our political opinions while we play sports, the vast majority of the American public disagrees with you. And in fact, they are saying now that they have a much lower opinion of sports overall than they did last year. And this is interesting because you would think for many people, sports would be an escape even more so. And we talked about on the radio program earlier that Mike Mulvihill, one of the smartest guys at Fox, said 90% of American sports fans look to sports as an escape from the real world. And instead of being an escape from the real world, it's turned into a politics by any other name. And I think that's a really bad precedent. I think it ties in with the Colin Kaepernick and the Madden game. I think it ties in with the NBA going woke. And I think, unfortunately, for the NFL, it's going to tie in with the NFL going woke too, and the overall impact of sports as a business and as an escape is severely under siege like no time in our lives before. And I think a lot of you are tuning into Outkick because you're like, man, I feel like at least the guys at Outkick are speaking truth to power and actually being honest on a day-to-day basis as opposed to all the woke losers out there trying to convince you that America is an awful place. I love all of you. Thank you for listening. Download the podcast. Make sure you don't miss a minute. We'll be live tomorrow with the NFL returning. This is Outkick on Fox Sports Radio.